All right, welcome into 305 guys on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. I'm Ethan Skolnick. You can follow me at Ethan J. Skolnick and at 5 Reasons Sports. I got Alex Donno. You can follow me follow him at Alex Donno. I'm
Follow
not
both of
following
us.
him. I'm not charged for stalking here or anything like that. Make sure make sure whatever you do, whoever you're following, follow us for Prize Picks. Use the code 5 FIVE. Put down your $5. Get your 50 to play right away. Prize Picks, the official fantasy sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Again, you can play legally in the state of Florida. You put down 5, you get 50. It's real simple. PrizePicks.com allows you to play all the sports, including right now baseball, preseason football, soccer. You can see it all there. They've got PGA, MMA. Everything is up there. So check it out. It's PrizePicks.com. Use the code 5, FIVE. Put down your 5, get your 50. All right, we're going to pit fan bases against each other today.
I love doing that.
First thing, you and I were talking yesterday on text about this civil war that goes on between Dolphins Twitter and Heat Twitter are two very different places. Heat Twitter is just spoiled. That's all. They want every possible free agent to play for the Heat because most of them were born the day that LeBron announced his decision. And so they're just expecting LeBron. If LeBron's kin were better players, they would want them there. That's all it's about. It's just spoiled. Okay? I'm sorry, they are. I understand it. This organization set that standard, and so you expect them to live up to that standard. And when they don't, you get upset. Then you get upset at the people who are reporting it to you and all the rest of that. Understood it, but spoiled. Dolphin fans are different. They haven't had anything to celebrate in a quarter century, a freaking quarter century. Okay, the Heat have been to 7 NBA finals since 6 years after the Dolphins won a playoff game.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. All right. So the Heat fans have nothing to complain about. I'm sorry. Okay. You're upset about Drew Smith re-signing. Okay. Dolphin fans have something legitimate to be upset about. The franchise has sucked for a very long period of time. There have been some up moments like Tony Sperano's first year, Adam Gase's first year, Mike McDaniel's first year. They're always the first years are good, and then everything goes the other direction. And then 2 or 3 years later, you're looking to change coaches again. And there's this like civil war that's been created between the Dolphins beat guys, all of whom you and I know.
I got a couple theories. Okay.
Yes.
The first theory I think we can agree on is very obvious that when you cover an organization or, if you're a fan of an organization that has been dysfunctional and unsuccessful, that just gives you an environment that unrest is going to happen. So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is I think in the Heat's case, the legacy media who cover that team, and you've been on both sides of it, Ethan, but I think the legacy media that cover that team are just a lot more chill. And so I don't know. And I'm not saying
wait, Alex, hold on a second. Hold on a second. You just described Ira Winderman as chill, and I love Ira, but that's the first time he's ever been described that way. I think what fans view the Heat legacy media. Okay, so who's legacy media? Okay, there's some crossover, by the way.
But at the same time, like Ira is Ira, but I don't feel like Ira goes after bloggers and podcasters. Like
no, he does not engage on social media. He does not engage on social media. No. Neither does Reynolds, by the way. So I would say, okay, who is legacy media? Okay, legacy media on the Heat now is Ira, Tim Reynolds, Anthony Chang's been there long enough. He's been there almost a decade.
Yeah.
Barry. And kind of me. I mean, I sort of straddle both worlds.
You know what you are to the Heat. I'm not like comparing anything other than like just sort of the space you occupy. You are to the Heat kind of what Omar Kelly is to the Dolphins, where he's on like he's
both sides. Well, he's not. What I mean? But he's now legacy again. He left legacy, came back.
Yeah,
right.
True.
And you're right. True. And I don't go after people like Omar does. And I'm friends with Omar too. But but
I did see Omar was very publicly defending one of the guys that people are going after, TD Finn's talk. So, and like
Yes,
Omar
I
was
know.
like basically trying to
Yes.
stand up for
And
him against the angry
and Bobby
mob.
Schaus, I think, also, and there's this whole thing there. Now, again, the Heat legacy media is smaller, and then some of the Heat legacy media, like Will kind of works for the team, so it's hard. And J-Jax, right? People think they're
Yeah.
legacy media, they're not. They're actually they work for the team in some capacity. This is going a different direction, but we'll get into the expectations thing in a second. But I think it's interesting, the inside baseball here. The legacy media part of this, I think what fans are upset about, and I saw this in this first comment here, that we're lying about the organization and the media lying. We're not lying. We're getting the organization's perspective on what it is. Does not mean I always agree with it. Okay.
Mm.
They trust me and others enough to share it because they don't think that they get their perspective out through the national media. And now on Twitter, things are kind of all over the place. But I think that when you look at the legacy media of the Heat, I think the argument that's made against it is, well, they just kind of go along. They just sort of always say, trust Pat, trust Spo, trust this person, trust that person. And I can see it to a certain degree. It's not New York. It's not like challenging people on things. No, that doesn't really happen. But Ira asks tough questions. Barry asks tough questions. I tend to ask my tougher questions in private, okay, because I think you get better answers that way. But that's it. And are the guys that we've brought who have become legacy media, like Brady and Alex, they ask basketball questions, which is what
Yeah.
good at, and that's what they want to do. And I think that serves the fans. Dolphins legacy media, since one person left whose name I'm not going to mention. Okay, I think you probably can figure it out because I was not a fan. But right. But okay, since then it's Omar, it's Beasley was there for a while, right?
Yeah.
It's Perk, who everybody loves Perk, okay? It's well, you should anyway.
And he's like one of the nicest people I've ever met.
On,
He's
on,
such
on
a
on
good
the
guy.
entire planet, Perk will be my friend for life, right? So
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says about him. Perk's my friend for life. But like, and then there's other guys who come into the beat from ESPN and others who I have a lot of respect for. I don't know why it gets so it's just so poisonous and toxic between the beat guys. And look, when like Alfredo is like Alfredo Arteaga from our network, 3 yards per carry. He goes to training camp every single day. He has respect for the beat writers. I think it's different when the podcasters or the new media group is out there. Hey Rob, appreciate it. Is out there on site when they're credentialed and they get to know the beat guys and understand how it works, and you can't just get everything you want, and that you
Right.
are beholden to the team for which players they bring out. The locker room's not even open with the Dolphins during training camp. It used to be. When I covered it, you could talk to any player on every day. Now they bring out the 3 or 4 that they choose on that given day. They don't credential a lot of bloggers. 5 reasons we have had to fight more with the Dolphins than with any other outlet to get out there. And typically, until I got Alfredo in there, they only credentialed me. So they are much more closed. Okay. Maybe that's why, and we're going to get to the expectations thing here now, but maybe that's why there's this disconnect, because I feel like in the Heat, the podcasters, whether it's Wes Goldberg from Locked On, okay, I know you were Locked On and Hurricanes, they're out there. And so maybe that they're kind of act like beat writers. So there's a little more respect there. But like the new media community on the Dolphins is toxic as F. It just is. Right?
Yeah.
It's coming from them. It's not. I don't think it's coming from the B. It's not coming from Allen, right? Like
No,
I don't.
that's a good point. And a lot of times it's just like because I feel like, and this is a big generalization. I know this isn't completely true, but I feel like there's more of a consensus among Heat fans, not a complete consensus, but they tend to think similar ways about the team. Whereas
Yeah.
Dolphin fans, it's all over the freaking road. Either Tua is God's gift to quarterbacking, or he's the worst abomination in the history of the franchise, and Mike McDaniel is either the boy genius or this guy is soft and he's ruining the franchise. Most people agree on Chris Greer in a negative way, but yeah, I don't think, like, you can't, if you find 100 different Dolphin fans, you find about 90 different opinions on the team, and I think that adds
Yes.
to the toxicity as well.
Yes, and also I think they're just starved. They're starved for success, and they don't know who to
Yeah.
blame, and so they blame those. All right, so let's pivot into this then, because we just want to have that conversation a little bit. Because we could talk about the Canes. I know that's your area, and that's going to go a whole nother direction. Because obviously there's a lot of offshoots of that. But
Yeah.
let's just be straight here, okay? Nobody is expecting either the Dolphins nor the Heat to contend for anything this year, right? Like we're not. Have you
No.
seen any preseason stuff? The Heat are 37.5. I think they got bumped to 38.5 wins in Vegas after the
Yeah,
Norm
it
Powell
goes
acquisition.
anywhere. I looked this up. I'm a bit of a degenerate. It ranges anywhere between 37.5 to 39.5, which obviously,
Right.
you know,
Under
depending
500.
on whether you want to bet the over or under, you pick the line you like better. And then for the Dolphins, I think it's 8.5 is the number for them this year. And
Okay,
eight.
so
That's
500.
basically right at the playoff line, right? 9 wins
Mm.
might get you into the playoffs. 8 will definitely not.
So basically, both teams are kind of in that play-in to last playoff spot range, right? Like that's like
Yeah.
neither is expected to be awful. Um, I think there's more variability with the Dolphins because of simply Tua. Like that's like it feels like that's a 4-win swing, whereas I guess Bam would be a significant swing. I don't know
Yeah.
if Tyler would be. I know people are going to get on me for that, but I think Norm Powell could probably take some of his scoring. I think Bam goes out, the bottom drops out, but that's a
Yeah.
whole nother story. But I feel like there's more variability with the Dolphins. There's more instability with the Dolphins because Eric Spoelstra ain't on the hot seat. Mike McDaniel is. Nothing with the Heat will ever change. With the Dolphins, we know it's a snap of Ross's fingers, and everybody but Greer is gone, always. But what do you think here? Like, if I was to say to you, let me give you two scenarios, okay? Let's say an upside scenario is the Heat win 48 to 50 games and are a top 4 seed in the East. The Dolphins win 11 games and at the very least capture a top wild card, because I don't think that's going to be better than the Bills anyway. But let's say their upside is 11 wins and a top wild card. Okay, so they're the 5 seed. Okay, whatever. And the Heat are the 4 seed at 47 wins. What is more likely to you?
Oh, this is so hard. I feel weird saying this out loud. But I'm going to say the Dolphins.
Oh,
I think their ceiling is slightly higher because of the difference that a hypothetically healthy for 16 to 17 games Tua can make, not to mention if Tyreek Hill can have a bounce back year and be closer to what he was in 2023. So I feel like maybe the ceiling is a little bit higher for the Dolphins, given how much of a difference a healthy Tua can make. I think the floor is higher, though, for the
yeah,
Heat. And I
yeah,
say that even though, they've got overall a pretty young roster. I think they
yeah.
only have 2 guys over 30 in the
20,
rotation.
20, 25 point. I just did the episode of Five on the Floor. 25.8 is the
Yeah.
average age of their 9-member. It's the youngest rotation they've had in
Yeah.
years. Yes.
Yet I would still set their floor higher because what we kind of know what we can expect from Bam and Tyler, and that includes, potentially missing some games this year. I still think that their floor is higher. And also their floor being higher to me is a testament of trusting the coaching a little bit more, like to get more
Mhm.
out of these guys than Mike McDaniel and his staff with the Dolphins. But I just I mean, listen, I know we've been on this merry-go-round for a few years with the Dolphins, but we've seen enough of how good it can be when
Mhm.
Tua and the offense is clicking. And I'm pretty high on a guy like Ollie Gordon, who I think can emerge maybe as like the
Mhm.
second running back behind Achane this year. I like the Matt Judon addition that they just made, even though he's going to have a little bit of a bounce back year after just 5.5 sacks last year, but had 15.5 the year before.
Mhm.
So, and the secondary is a big concern for the Dolphins, but I think the front seven is going to be really good. So it's like, it wouldn't shock me if either team kind of goes over those lines that you drew, but wasn't long ago the Dolphins were winning 11 games a couple years
Mhm.
on a sort of a semi-regular basis. So I'm going to have a little bit more. If I had to just bet on one or the other, I'd probably put my money on the Dolphins to do that versus the Heat winning. So what was the line for the Dolphins? 11 games versus
11
going.
games. Let's say 11 games versus say 47 for the Heat. Something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I feel pretty confident the Heat are going to be somewhere between like 38 to 43 wins. So I
Yeah.
would be hesitant to go at 47 plus.
I agree with you entirely on both counts.
Wow.
And yeah, no, I do. I think the floor is higher for the Heat for a bunch of reasons. One is they won't let it drop. They just won't let it drop. There's no chance of them turning tail and tanking. There is a chance of the Dolphins doing that. Like that, like I don't. If things start to go south with the Dolphins and it's going to be a full reset and a new head coach, like probably what would happen is, because again, Spo's not getting fired. So I guess what could potentially happen is McDaniel. Let's say it's not working. They're 3-6 or something like that. Anthony Weaver, you take over the team for the rest of the year, right? Like, isn't that the most likely scenario? Probably, because if they're 3-6, it's probably because the offense is underperforming, or there's been issues getting plays in again, or some of the other things that we've seen, or maybe there's stuff happening behind the scenes again where it doesn't seem like McDaniel has control of the roster or the players. And if that's the case, then you put the defensive coordinator in charge. Like that happens all the time. The Dolphins have done that before. Todd Bowles taking over for Tony Sperron, right? Like it's the same thing, right?
Jim Bates, and then Anthony, for
Jim Bates for Dave Wannstedt, and then you get like a 6 or 7 week run to see if Weaver can kind of take control, and then of course we know what happens after that. Then the players all stand up after the season and saying, "We want Anthony Weaver. That's our guy." And then Ross, at 82 years old or whatever he's going to be at that stage, does another search around America. This is we know exactly what's going to happen. And I like Mike, okay, and I hope it works for Mike. But I think if you were asking me to handicap the most likely result for this season, it's probably that. It's Tua misses 2 or 3 games early in the year. They go on the tank. Already, you're mentioning Ollie Gordon as backup for Achane. It's possible, but we don't even know Achane's going to be available for the season opener. So he may be out for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And again, with Hill, Waddle, their availability, you can never count on it. So it's very possible that the even if the offensive line is better, even if the front seven is excellent, which I think it could be, that they get off to a slow start. Ross says, "Okay, I've seen enough." Okay, goes to Weaver. And so I do think the floor, now he could rally them, but I also think that the floor is lower. The Heat are not going to go beyond a certain number of wins. They're just not. Like there's enough young talent on the roster, and Spo's going to grind it, and they're going to catch some people just by playing hard. So they're not going to go under 33, 34 wins. I can't see it. Could I see the Dolphins going 4-13 if everything went wrong? Yes.
Right. But it's funny because if they go 4-13, wouldn't surprise me. If they go 11-6, wouldn't surprise me. It would shock me if they won a playoff game, but 11-6 regular season would not surprise me.
Well, to win a playoff game, they need to win the division.
Yeah.
They need to win the division because they're not going on the road and beating anybody yet. I think they've made inroads on the trenches, where maybe they will be able to do that someday, but I don't know that they're ready to do that this year. I hope I'm wrong, but I got quarter century of evidence that says I'm not. So we'll see until it happens. But I do think, just to be fair to the Dolphins here, I think the break right scenario for them is higher upside than the Heat's. Like I have a hard time seeing what it would be that would catalyze the Heat to 50 wins. Tyler has made progress. I think any progress from here is incremental. He's not going to become a great defender. It's incremental. Bam. I hate to say it, my friend Greg Sylvander, I think he's pretty close to his ceiling. I think defensively he's elite. Offensively, he's never going to be aggressive enough or have enough of a bag, I think, in terms of post-game, that kind of stuff, to really elevate to a 25-10 guy. I don't see it. I think he's really good at what he does. I don't know that there's a whole lot more. And I think Powell helps, but he's not the type that helps them get to that level. And, you look at the young guys, the one I think is going to pop the most this year is Jovic. I'm standing behind that. I think we've seen some of that, but again, it would have to be considerable. He's still 21 years old. So I don't think he's a build-around player, but I think he's going to be a core player for them. So I don't see it. Like there's no Giannis walking through that door. Whereas the Dolphins have a guy who, when he's at his best, Tyreek Hill is a top 5 receiver in the game. Okay. When that offense is humming with Tua, they're a top 5 offense. We've seen that. And the pass rush, Judon doesn't need 15 sacks. He needs 5. He needs a few pressures. I mean, with what they have, they need Phillips and Chubb. So, Alex, I'm with you. I think we agree on this. I think the upside for the Dolphins is higher. I think the floor is lower for the Dolphins. And I think, if I'm to lean one direction based on 25 years of experience, I'd go with the floor instead of the ceiling, but I'm hoping that it's the ceiling.
Well, just thank goodness we have the Florida Panthers, because we're pretty sure we're going to get another, competing for a Stanley Cup type of run coming up this
Alex,
year.
let me ask you that before we close it. Before we close it, are we at the stage with the Panthers, if they don't make it to the finals, that people are going to be whining and crying? Are we there yet?
We're at what, three consecutive years with a final appearance, 2 straight championships. You kind of, in a weird way, you kind of feel like it's like the hockey version of the Big Three Miami Heat. Not as flashy necessarily, although pretty flashy when you win 2 straight Stanley Cups. But I think anything short of the finals, we're like, the hell happened?
Right. Even though we know that in the playoffs, if your goalie goes bad, that can happen. But I don't. They're bringing the best team into training camp they've ever brought into training camp, coming off of finals. They lost no one. They didn't even have to trade Rodriguez.
Crazy.
Like
they all want to be like, they don't want to go anywhere else. These guys are like, I've played in other spots. It's a crappy experience compared to being here.
They're dumping prospects just and then we have 5 more. We got Mackey, we got this guy, we got that guy. They're absolutely loaded. All right, Alex, appreciate it. We covered both teams today. Look at that. By the way, have you given out your Hurricanes prediction yet?
I kind of not officially.
I won't make you do it here.
Well, no, because I've said it a few times. I'm going 10-2. I think they they've got to at least split the Florida Notre Dame games. I think if they do that, they'll maybe slip up somewhere else, but I think they can go 10-2.
Okay. All right, that's fair. Check out our Hurricanes coverage, and also Alex's Locked On coverage. All right, Alex and I will see you next Tuesday.
See ya.
Thanks for watching the 5 Reasons Gambling Show with Big Picks Energy.